Good evening. Good evening. In today's report on fundamental moral theology, we have two prominent YouTube personalities, Ben Shapiro and Bishop Robert Barron, featured in this newsroom. Both have sparked interest on their social media discussions aimed at bridging gaps in belief systems and encouraging reflection on transcendent ideals. This report highlights a sort of a partnership between the two that embodies a divine initiative in our world today, inviting individuals to explore the moral imperatives of one's own existence.
Here we go.
Unpopular opinion. God is pro-choice. Never in humanity has God stripped us of our ability to choose. We see this in Genesis chapter 2 when God places Adam in the midst of the garden and presents all of his best options to him, but does not remove the most destructive choice. In fact, God commands Adam not to eat of this forbidden tree and does not remove the ability for him to choose.
So the idea is that Adam did the right thing?
Shapiro, a well-known commentator and attorney, advocates for a return to traditional values in a time marked by moral confusion and rising secularism. His intellectual debates resonate particularly with those seeking clarity in moral theology and ethics.
Because God is more concerned with our desire to choose him than he is with the legislation of righteousness.
No, it seems God is pretty much concerned with righteousness. Again, the rest of the Bible being the evidence of this.
You read the Bible, Brett.
Tzedek tirdof, it says in the book of Deuteronomy.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides.
Righteousness, you shall pursue. It doesn't say abortion, you shall pursue, or choice, you shall pursue.
With great vengeance and furious anger.
It says to choose life, literally in Deuteronomy. Choose life that you and your children may live.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
So God commands you to make the right choice. He gives you the ability to choose, but then he commands you to make the right choice.
I'm a non-denominational libertarian Christian. I'm in this place where I think that you actually can't find any real objective morality without God or a creator.
Okay.
What if there's a hypothetical where a God or a creator asks you or instructs you to do something immoral?
Right. So this has been called for a long time, the Euthyphro dilemma from Plato's Republic. The basic idea that what if God is the source of all morality and God tells you to do something wrong, then he isn't the actual source of all morality. In the Bible, this is mostly dealt with in the story of Abraham and Isaac, right? Which is a horrifying story on its surface. But but in this circumstance, Abraham doesn't actually argue with God about what would seem to be the most immoral thing, right? God telling him to kill his only son. The only way to explain that from a Judeo-Christian perspective is to say that Abraham had enough trust in God to understand that God was testing Abraham's willingness to obey authority and that God would not force him to go through with the actual murder of his own son. Now, where that comes down is from a sort of realistic perspective. There are many times in life in which circumstance forces horrible things upon us, and we sort of just have to accept that as an element of the universe, as an element of God's justice that we don't understand. But we have faith that God is acting morally even when he appears to be acting immorally. So the problem of is man's morality...
Bishop Barron clarifies that we need to employ different evangelical approach for different groups of people. We cannot apply the same strategies to non-Catholics, non-Christians, agnostics, and atheists as they come from various foundations and understandings of God. We need to meet them at their level and gradually guide them to the fullness of truth. Let's listen to what Bishop Barron has to say.
No. The Catholic view, go back to the Second Vatican Council, says it very clearly. I mean, Christ is the privileged route to salvation. I mean, God so loved the world, he gave his only son that we might find eternal life. So that's the privileged route. However, Vatican II clearly teaches that someone outside the explicit Christian faith can be saved. Now, they're saved through the grace of Christ, indirectly received. So, I mean, the grace is coming from Christ, but it might be received according to your conscience. So if you're following your conscience sincerely, or in your case, you're following the commandments of the law sincerely, yeah, you can be saved. Now, that doesn't conduce to a complete relativism.
Bishop Robert Barron, renowned for his engaging approach to evangelism, echoed Shapiro's call for a cohesive understanding of faith as a means to meet humanity's deep-seated needs. Their dialogue highlights an essential aspect of God's salvific plan, uniting individuals from diverse backgrounds in the pursuit of truth and ethical living in Jesus Christ.
One of the things that you've been talking about a lot is what you call the re-Judaization of Christian learning and Christian faith, the reconnection with the Old Testament, because after all, Jesus was a Jew, and not only was a Jew, was a practicing
You won't
Jew.
get anything about Jesus without getting the Old Testament. As you know, Paul said he's the yes to all the promises made to Israel. That means if you don't get Israel, you won't get him. And one of the problems, Ben, I think we've talked about before, is when you divorce Jesus from Judaism, he turns into a teacher of timeless truth. He turns into a bland sort of moral exemplar. And that's what the liberal culture often wants him to be. He becomes a rather harmless figure. I can take him or leave him. He's very interesting, but so is Confucius, and so are, but the Jesus who is grounded in Israel, who comes up out of Israel and is appreciated by the first Christians as the fulfillment of Israel, fulfillment of temple and Torah and prophecy, covenant. So when Jesus says at the Last Supper, this is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, well, he's citing Jeremiah 31:31. The days are coming when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, and I will write my law on their hearts. Well, see, we Christians tonight, as I record these words, it's Holy Thursday, and we celebrate the Eucharist. So what Jesus established that night, giving us his body and blood, and we eat his body and drink his blood, what's happening? The Torah is coming inside of us. The law is being written now in our hearts.
As society grapples with challenges such as declining family values and chaotic cultural discourse, the collaboration between Shapiro and Barron serves as a hopeful beacon, advocating for a return to foundational truths. Together, they inspire individuals to seek deeper meaning and cultivate a solid moral foundation in an increasingly complex world. Reporting in FMT Newsroom, my name is Maria Carmen Ordoveza. Thank you and good evening.